Hello and welcome to India Ideas, the weekly show where we get you a deep dive into different aspects, different facets, different attributes of India's startup ecosystem. I'm Gautam Roy. We've been seeing various challenges come up in the recent years, but the one that is burgeoning now is the one related to cybersecurity, cyber threats, cyber challenges. A lot of cyber attacks taking place on Indian institutions, corporations, even individuals falling victims to different kinds of cyber attacks, and the numbers have only been growing very steadily and fast through recent years. We'll be talking about this challenge in our showcase now. Does it present a challenge as well as an opportunity for India's cyber security startups? Well, in terms of the kind of cyber attacks that are being taking place, the numbers have been mounting through the years. Like I said, they are right now, they've crossed the 1 million mark as far as 2023 is concerned. But if you look at some of the data that's been coming in through the recent years, if you talk about that, according to a recently released Indian Cybercrime Coordination Center or I4C report, over 1.2 billion US dollars was siphoned off by cyber criminals since the 1st of April 2021. Different agencies managed to successfully block $135 million from being siphoned off, which means only 9 to 10% of the stolen amount was restored to the accounts of victims. 452,000 cybercrime cases were reported on National Cybercrime Reporting Portal in 2021. This went up to 966,000 cases in 2022, which means an increase of 113.7% from 2021 to 2022. This further increased to 1.56 million cybercrime cases being reported on the National Cybercrime Reporting Portal in 2023. Clearly, this is a huge challenge, not only for India's law enforcement agencies, but also for the cybersecurity ecosystem, of which the cybersecurity startups are also a major part. So what sort of challenge and opportunity is it for them in 2024? Let's take that up. If we go across and if we have our guests now through with us, we have Atul Kumar, Lead Government Initiatives and Global Trade, DSCI, which is a non-profit industry body on data protection in India, which has been put together by NASSCOM. We also have Lakshmi Das, who is a co-founder of Prophase, which is a cybersecurity concern, a startup in India, and it says that it has an all-in-one solution for such cybersecurity challenges. And we're also joined by Karmesh Gupta, who's founder Why Jungle, which is another Indian cybersecurity concern, and also provides very comprehensive solutions as far as these cybersecurity challenges are concerned. If I could come to you first, Amit, what can you tell us in terms of the overview of the cybersecurity challenge and the opportunity that lies ahead for India? Because we've seen cyber attacks going up, we've seen the capabilities rising as well in terms of countering it, and yet we see limited success.
So thanks, Gautam. Thanks for having me here, and thanks for picking up such an important topic for this discussion. So I'll say this. Cyber has emerged as a very critical aspect, and now we see cyber as the fifth frontier of national security as well. So from both national and national security, as well as from economic stability, from both the sides, cyber has taken a different shape now. I believe in it is essential to comprehend the overall context, how cyberspace is getting evolved. So from that perspective, we look at cyberspace vastly shaped and reshaped by emergence of innovative technologies and emerging technologies that we talk about, whether it's AI, ML, quantum, big data, and all those things. And with the rapid advancement of emerging technologies, organizations worldwide, including India, and we are significantly scaling up efforts to digitally transform businesses from process perspective, from technology adoption perspective, from all the facets. This shift underscores a commitment to innovation for their business growth. And this surge in technological advancement has also, I would say, risen the heightened security challenges, right? And overall cyber threat landscape risk scenario has convoluted and became more important because of its multi-dimensional and multi-stakeholder kind of a nature. Typically, what we say, virtual is now merging with physical, and that's leading to very sophisticated kind of attack scenarios. Like if I just take a couple of noteworthy threats, probably it's like zero-day exploits, ransomware, or malware as a services kind of things, which pertinently available on dark web kind of platforms, which is giving adversary an edge to sort of exploit those things and take out of that. Similarly, new wave of activism. Now, as we said, IoT and emerging tech is evolving. So DDoS kind of attacks are now moving towards the mobile networks and even IoT kind of network, which is widespread, right? We are talking about generative AI kind of thing. Now, AI-enabled disinformation, misinformation, or even deep fake kind of scenarios are picking up. So that's sometimes looks like it's quite a grave situation, but out of this threatening kind of scenario, this is definitely pertinent, and we have to address it, and that's also creating a lot of opportunities. From that perspective, other side, if we look at which is how to solve it and what we are doing, I believe it's very important to see globally cyber has become priority, and India is taking a significant lead on that.
Yes, we'll talk about this further. Let me bring in Lakshmi as well. Lakshmi, with such a challenging scenario, what sort of an opportunity does it present to pro-face in cybersecurity startups such as yours? Could you unmute, please? Go ahead, Lakshmi. We can't hear you, Lakshmi. Okay, let me bring in Karmesh. Karmesh, it's undoubtedly a massive opportunity for Y-Jungle as well and others like you. But isn't it like a scenario where the sector is constantly trying to play catch up with more and more sophisticated and advanced cyber attacks? We're not able to hear Karmesh either. Karmesh, okay, let's try and fix these two audio issues. Well, the thing is that we're trying to get to the root of the problem, as well as find what sort of solutions do our startups have as far as these cyber attack challenges are concerned. Like, the numbers speak for themselves, the way these cyber attacks have been mounting. At the same time, there is a tremendous potential as well, and we see how the money invested in India's cybersecurity startups, the kind of market that they have and the potential that they hold, the estimates that have been given for the coming years up to 2029, the numbers are really, really impressive. A CAGR that is projected in terms of the potential growth per year is more than 18%. I think Atul is back with us. Atul, in terms of how things will be taken forward from here, you were mentioning as to what kind of capabilities are being developed.
For sure. So I heard you were talking about the adoption and how things are changing. I'll just give you a perspective on that as well, and I'll cover both the sides. In last 4 years time frame, if you look at just Indian ecosystem, so from approximately $2 billion in 2019 to now almost $6 billion adoption. $6 billion money is getting spent on the cybersecurity adoption only in India, which is almost threefold growth that we have seen just in last 4 years of time frame. That's a kind of opportunity we have only in Indian ecosystem. If I give you a perspective of how we are going to grow from here, our reading says almost 30% plus CAGR we are going to follow to adopt security more in future. Probably that's going to be much more than that. In terms of product adoption, if you see that product adoption is much more than 30%, and in last 3 years, 4 years time frame, also we saw more than 35% of growth. Going forward till 2028, our reading says we are going to consume more than 5% of the global cybersecurity spending just in India. So from any of the product company or services companies in security, this ecosystem is definitely much more vibrant than other ecosystems that we have.
Okay.
Other aspect, yeah, please go ahead.
Yes, Atul, and the government and the industry have been taking multiple steps to tackle the cyber menace as well. Why is it that they've only met with limited success, as the I4C data shows?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's an interesting question actually. So see, if we look at the gamut, what we are dealing with in India, right? It's quite different from many other countries and economies across the globe. Just from the number perspective, if I take example of say UPI, uh, almost 11 billion UPI transaction we are making in a single month, right? If I remember it correctly, somewhere around $17 trillion, INR transaction is happening every month on UPI, which itself is so huge that many of the other economies won't fall near that number, right? And I'm just taking just one example. So the kind of gamut that we are dealing is very different. I'll take that success what we have seen. Earlier, we didn't have any effective mechanism to even report the cybercrime. What we are seeing right now is after that I4C kind of institution have started taking that kind of initiative where now we can report the cybercrime. The 10% kind of number that you're talking about, definitely it's not so great, but I'll take it more like a successful start. And in future, probably we'll have more effective and better outcome of that. There is another angle to that, Gautam. While these numbers are more towards the financial crime and it's quite high, but overall adoption of cybersecurity in India, which is making India as a secure destination for the business and especially the technology businesses, what we have seen in IT, ITS outsourcing, that is something which is quite prominent and we are quite ahead. If you see the global cybersecurity index 2020, if you remember, India moved to 10th position in cybersecurity index. That was quite a significant jump, more than 40 rank to 10th rank. This is kind of a change which is happening to, and if I say how it's happening is definitely the overall ecosystem is coming together. It's not only one player like government is doing something or industry is doing something. It's a very coordinated and cohesive way where public-private partnership in India has grown a significant mature level, right? All the stakeholders, whether it's industry, government, academia, in industry, whether it's startup, mature companies, or product company or services companies, everybody is contributing to that growth. And that's the resultant why we are having even global R&D centers, global technology centers coming and setting up their base here. So from one perspective, definitely numbers are quite high, concerning, but at the same time, other side of the story is also quite promising. So if we see from both the sides, it's quite promising story that India is writing.
All right, I'm being told that we have the audio of both Lakshmi and Karmesh. Lakshmi, I was trying to ask you, in such a challenging scenario, what sort of opportunity does it present for Prophase and cybersecurity startups such as yours? Lakshmi, can you hear me? Karmesh, if you can hear me, just trying to find out in terms of how you are looking to leverage the kind of opportunity that's there, apart from tackling the challenge. Well, it seems that neither of the two other guests of ours can hear us at the moment. Atul, I'm deeply sorry, but in terms of the kind of response
If
that
you
we've
want,
seen.
Gautam, I can respond on their behalf up to a certain extent.
Yes. In fact, let me ask you, what kind of changes in response to this opportunity that has come by have you seen the government taking and the industry taking, law enforcement agencies as well, to tackle this threat effectively?
No, nothing. I think we both are in
I think
a
they are back.
absolute zone.
Karmesh, can you hear me?
We are in Jupiter.
Because we can hear you now and you guys are talking to each other. Karmesh? No, I don't think they can hear us. Go ahead, Atul.
Okay. Yeah, can you just repeat that question? I missed last part of that.
Just wanted to ask you what kind of changes in response to what is happening around us as far as the cybersecurity challenges are concerned can we expect would be made in terms of what the industry is doing and the law enforcement agencies are doing?
Okay, so one thing is definitely, as I earlier said, their way of response is becoming more coordinated, right? And even the regulatory regime that's shaping up in India and the how government is opening up to collaborate with industry, and similarly, industry is collaborating with government. That's definitely shaping up a lot of aspects, uh, and even not just limited to Indian ecosystem. I'll say this is a global phenomena. I was taking example of G20 for that matter. How it happened? I, in my knowledge, before India took the presidency of G20, cybersecurity was not such a prominent discussion point in the G20 forum for that, right? But in India, what we have done, we have brought everyone together, and we have significantly focused on cybersecurity as a dedicated area. Ministry of Electronics and IT has done it, where they have focused on technology and policy side, and slightly on skills development side. At the same time, covering the cybercrime perspective, that too, the emerging crime perspective, whether what's happening in metaverse, and we keep hearing about the crypto-related crimes that's happening, which is difficult to address. From that perspective, MHA has taken the lead. And because we were involved, DSCI was involved in both the sides, with both the ministries actually. That happened in a very, very collaborative way.
Okay.
I'll just double click that aspect. It's just not limited to government engagement is happening. We had given opportunity to Indian startups. And if I remember, both of these two co-panelists here were part of those discussions as well, where we have showcased what India is doing, how collaborative Globe can do. At the same time, we have shown our strength from our technology perspective. So it's happening in that way, where a collaborative approach, a very cohesive approach, can help us address those crimes at national level as well as at international level.
Okay, and in terms of the kind of changes that are required also at the policy and legislative level, do you think that is also something that needs to be taken forward, or are we sufficiently in terms of laws we're self-sufficient?
Okay, so I won't say in cyber anytime we can say we are sufficient, because it's ever growing field. And that's why I say it's so multidimensional and so dynamic field, where every day we have to be vigilant and proactive to sort of address a new sort of challenges and new emerging things in the ecosystem. So from that perspective, uh, laws and regulations, what we are seeing in India, these are definitely evolving in a very, again, this is more on a consultative way, which are evolving. For example, the Data Protection Act that we have seen recently got passed in Parliament, and the Digital India Act, which is in discussion. So from the beginning itself, some discussions and consultations are happening, right? Dialogues are there, which includes a perspective of different stakeholders in the ecosystem, from the user side, from the provider side, and the people who are actually looking at the futuristic perspective. So this will definitely give us an edge to sort of our laws and regulations will be slightly ahead of the curve, more neutral in terms of technology, so that for a longer duration, we'll be able to address those requirements. So from that perspective, things are happening. And definitely we are going to have more and more such regulations in future. This is what we are seeing.
All right.
One thing that we definitely feel, regulations on one hand, where they are strengthening the cybersecurity posture, it's also creating opportunity for these emerging startups, because every time we'll have a new element coming in the regulation, will give opportunity and a use case to our startups and innovators to pick it up, solve it, and help the ecosystem to remain strengthened from cyber perspective, as well as grow with the same pace as regulator wants it to grow.
Definitely. Now, in terms of this menace also being an opportunity for India's cybersecurity ecosystem, how well geared is it to ensure that one, it corners most of the opportunities which are being generated, not just in India, also has some share of the opportunities abroad as well, and two, that it takes on this challenge effectively, so it's seen as a credible bulwark against cyber attacks and generates more business, make India an emerging cybersecurity hub?
For sure, that's a great question actually, and my favorite one. So DSCI, we are trying to contribute towards making India as a global hub for cybersecurity, and That whole journey started on the call of Honorable Prime Minister in 2015, and we are putting all the effort in that direction. Now, to give you a perspective, how well we are prepared. So slightly, if I take 15 years back or 12 years back, we used to have hardly 10 cybersecurity product companies in India, right? Today, we have more than 350 product companies in India. And these product companies are almost working in almost all the domains in cyber. Now, if I talk about how well we are growing, so we are contributing almost 2.6 to 2.8 billion dollar overall as a consolidated revenue. But interestingly, out of this, almost 50% revenue is coming from outside India, which says the confidence of the globe on the Indian ecosystem. This I'm talking about Indian product companies. That is one piece. From the technology perspective, just to tell you about their strength, as I said, almost all the domains they are covering in, but more than 80% of these companies are cloud ready, which is kind of a new norm, especially if you remember after COVID.
Yes.
The cloud readiness has become the new norm, right? Everybody wants to be on SaaS, on the cloud. So almost 80% of these companies are cloud ready. And interestingly, more than 80% of these companies are leveraging AI, ML, quantum, big data as their core of their products, which is very interesting because that makes them at par with the global companies and the giants in the domain. That is one portion, which is products. Another side is services. Services, India, it is there in the DNA of Indian ecosystem, right? From IT, ITS and all. Almost 80% of the, or 85% of the revenue of Indian services companies, just for cyber, is coming from outside India. Again, this shows the kind of a commitment, and this is lying somewhere around $10 billion as a total revenue in cyber. This is the services portion, and importantly, we need to look at when we are saying we are becoming global superpower, right? Then global giants have to trust the ecosystem. So you will find more than, we typically say more than 8 or more than 10 global product development and R&D centers of the cybersecurity companies. That I'm talking about the big giants in the ecosystem. Their R&D and product development centers are here in India. Significant work of the technology development, product security work, and the global capability centers that we talk about, that happens from India. That's something that is actually giving us a boost. If you have a couple of minutes, I want to cover one aspect.
We're completely out of time now, in fact, Atul.
Okay, because what happened during COVID time frame, that something gives a very prominent picture to our ecosystem. So just in 30 seconds, I can cover that. Say in 2 years of time frame when COVID started, we were really worried what's going to happen with our ecosystem. In 2 years of time frame, we have added almost 20% new startups every year. Second, in terms of manpower, every year we have added more than 50% of the manpower in the product companies in India. This is like just in 2 years time frame, I'm saying. In terms of revenue got doubled in 2 years of time frame. So that is
I'm sure there's more to come. Atul, completely out of time, so sorry, I'm going to have to interrupt you now.
That's okay.
And I really apologize to our other two guests as well, Lakshmi of Profes and Karmesh of Jungle. If the problem was at our end, I don't know, maybe we're being subjected to a cyber attack at the moment as we speak, but let's leave it there at the moment. Thanks a lot for joining us, Atul, and the other two as well. Well, that's all we have for the moment in this edition of India Ideas. The cyber attacks, they will keep mounting against India because India is rising. And, you know, the more you rise, the more enemies you make. That seems to be a norm that has been around for the longest possible time. But we should not be afraid. We should develop our capabilities. And that's what our industry seems to be doing. The government is lending a helping hand, and more and more opportunities will come by India in this process. Thanks for watching India Ideas today, and keep watching DD India for all the latest.